Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, how the mainstream media is getting the fight against fascism all wrong and in the process normalizing the Trump narrative. A conversation with former senior political analyst and anchor at CNN, John Avlon, on the B side of our two.
It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. It's what allows us to pursue our individual dreams and yet still come together as one American family. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states, red states for Republicans, blue states for Democrats. But I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states. And yes, we've got some gay friends in the red states. There are patriots who opposed the war in Iraq, and there are patriots who supported the war in Iraq. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the Stars and Stripes, all of us defending the United States of America.
That was the night that most of America got introduced to Barack Obama. You recall that speech. It put him on the map. 2004 Democratic Convention in Boston, where John Kerry becomes the Democratic Party's standard bearer. That's what Barack Obama said then about red states and blue states and liberal states and conservative states. There's no red states and blue states. It's just the United States. Okay, Mr. Obama. That's what he said in 2004. Washington Post contributing columnist Theodore Johnson on Barack Obama's about face on red and blue America when it comes to California redistricting. We'll do that on the backside of hour two. In our third hour, actress Edwina Findlay Dickerson, best known for her work on HBO's The Wire and more recently her standout role in The Residents, comes in studio to share her new book with a foreword by actress Viola Davis. The book is called The World is Waiting for You. Embrace your calling and manifest the God dream over your life. We'll do that in our third hour. But in this first hour today, let's talk politics and more with two guests, both attorneys, both political commentators, and both social media influencers, A.B. Burns Tucker and Elizabeth Booker Houston. A.B., how are you today?
You.
I'm going to try that again. How are you today?
Oh, I'm well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now I can hear you. Elizabeth, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing well. As I said, if I complain, I can't speak for AB, but if I complain, that'd be an ingrate, and delighted to have you both on. Let me start with this. Just the top line. I understand that Gavin Newsom, speaking of redistricting, we're going to talk about that in our second hour, and the 180 that Obama has done on what he said in 2004 and where he stands now on redistricting, given all the brouhaha and all the drama. But I understand one of you or both of you were on a call that Gavin Newsom had about redistricting. AB, you were on that call?
Yes, I was on that call.
I got just a few seconds here now. We got the whole hour, of course, but just top line for me, what your takeaways were from what Gavin Newsom said on that call.
I mean, number one is California has to redistrict in order to combat the racism that is happening in other states. This is not something that Democrats wanted to do. It is something that needs to be done in order to protect democracy in this country.
Elizabeth, what was your read of what Governor Newsom had to say?
So I actually interviewed House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries during the live stream, and we basically talked about how this is part of a larger strategy, right? The support for Prop 50 in California isn't just about California redistricting. We're also looking at what's happening in Maryland. I interviewed Governor Wes Moore last week. He is also for potentially redistricting the map in Maryland in order to help balance out what Republicans are doing to try to steal seats. And so it's really important that people understand that this is not just about one state. This is about setting the stage for blue states and blue governors all across the country.
Just getting started in this hour with A.B. Burns Tucker and Elizabeth Booker Houston. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. We've all had that epic rideshare experience. Halfway through the trip, you know their heartbreak, their career path, and they know your aspirations to go find yourself in Portugal. It's human. We're all looking for connection, for someone to listen. But sometimes the people we spill our hearts to aren't exactly equipped to help us through it. With over a decade of data-backed experience from helping millions of people, BetterHelp matches you with a therapist based on your needs and goals. No asking for recommendations or endless scrolling through listings. Simply answer a few questions online and you'll be matched with a therapist, often in as little as 48 hours. Join over 5 million people worldwide who've trusted BetterHelp for their mental health and well-being. Get a therapist who gets you. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABC Radio to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/ABC Radio.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at kbla1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to kbla1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with A.B. Burns Tucker and Elizabeth Booker Houston, who I'm honored to have on the program in this first hour to get us started today. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking in greater depth about redistricting in our second hour, but it was a big call that Gavin Newsom had. The whole nation is watching California, see what happens here with regard to Prop 50. And if you are in California listening to me right now, certainly I haven't been in Northern California in a couple of days, but up and down the state, these commercials are starting to run more aggressively. So every other commercial, you're seeing a no on Prop 50, a yes on Prop 50. And so we are in the thick of it. and it's getting thicker as we head toward November, when there will be a special election here in California. Since we're heard across the country, I want to explain a bit of this right quick. We have a special election coming up in November. So all the talk you've been hearing about California trying to balance out, as it were, what happened in Florida and in Texas, for example, they were able to put that, push that through their legislature. Here in California, it requires a vote of the people. And so we have, again, a special election in November to decide whether or not what Democrats have laid out in terms of redistricting, in terms of the gerrymandering, and picking up some additional Democratic seats, that has to go to the voters. Now, what's fascinating about California as well is that we have a commission, an independent commission, that draws our lines here in the state of California. It's been that way for quite some time. And that came online years ago because of California voters. The voters voted that into law. This is how we would do it in California to make it so not partisan. And so now what Gavin Newsom is asking us to do, what Hakeem Jeffries and all Democrats, even Barack Obama, as I said earlier, is now signed on to this, a little bit different than where he said in 2004. But everybody signed on to this path, this process and this path, because of where we are in the country right now. My sense is, I've said before, we're going down a rabbit hole here. And if we live in a democracy, or as I call it, an experiment in democracy, where ain't nobody playing by the rules, and there are no principles. It's just whoever can get the most seats. At the end of the day, not only are we going down the rabbit hole, but we lose. And by we, I mean Democrats. If you look at the map, I have done this. I've talked to experts. I've played this out. If every state got involved and did the same thing in this race to the bottom to see who can have the most seats in the House, Democrats just can't win. So this strategy may seem like a good strategy at the moment, but if you play it all the way out, Democrats have no possible way of having more seats in the House right now than Republicans. And so I say all that to say, AB and Elizabeth, I'll start with you, Elizabeth. What's this all about? If you play this out, as I said, and in the end, Democrats can have the most number of seats. What's your read of my assessment, at least, that, even though this might be the right thing to do in the moment, it's a race to the bottom?
Well, I think that is going on the assumption that every single state, right, how every single state would address this.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, even in some states that have swung for Trump in this past election, they are a little more purple than they really are red or blue. And so it's not necessarily going to play out in this even split of like, okay, this red state that voted for Trump is going to absolutely redistrict, and this blue state that voted for Harris is absolutely going to redistrict. That's not how it's going to happen, especially because how the redistricting process happens is going to vary from state to state. So as you pointed out with California, there is the independent commission. And I do want to push back a little bit, because people are saying, well, they're not playing by the rules, so we don't need to play by the rules. I want to point out that California is playing by the rules. This special election with Prop 50 is something that was embedded into the system, even with the independent commission, in the case of something like this, where voters could actually say, you know what, we know there's an independent commission, but we actually want to go ahead and make our voices heard on the map. That's why this whole process is allowed to happen. So it's not actually going outside of the rules. They are within the confines of the rules, and they are simply using a different process that already exists. I do understand about the race to the bottom and the concerns there. Quite frankly, just to be blunt, my assessment is we have a lot of things on fire right now. We are going to have to address that issue. We're going to have to figure out how to get to a truly independent, system when it comes to redistricting and when it comes to drawing congressional maps. But right now, we have to do what we can to survive. And this is very much survival mode, right? What you do to survive in a situation is not necessarily what you would do long term. So I do agree with you that we need to make sure that we're keeping that perspective of this is something that we might have to do right now, but it's not something we can do forever.
Clearly, this question, Elizabeth, is just my playing devil's advocate. When you say that California is playing by the rules, you think Republicans in California agree with that assessment?
Absolutely not. I don't think that they do, but at the same time, we have a lot of disagreements on what the rules are and what objectivity is and what is considered, misinformation versus disinformation. So I can't say that I would be surprised if they would disagree.
Yep. So AB, I have a list that seems to grow. I've been at this a little bit longer than you and Elizabeth in this media space. And over the years, I've developed a list of the things that I think are threatening our democracy, our experiment in democracy. And for those who've never heard me say it, even though I say it all the time, I always say an experiment in democracy because I believe that we have a Madisonian framework for democracy. We have not quite achieved that in this country, so I call it an experiment in that is an experiment in democracy. But that aside, my list of the things that I think are threatening our experiment in democracy grows by the year, it seems. Poverty is a threat to this democracy. The way we are ignoring what the climate is telling us is a threat, not just to our democracy, but indeed our country and the world for that matter. The list just grows of the number of things that I think are threatening to our democracy. But near the top of that list is the issue of gerrymandering. Now, I've been saying that for years, that gerrymandering is a severe and an existential threat, since that's the word of last year with regard to this race for the White House. Donald Trump represents an existential threat. I think that gerrymandering represents an existential threat to this democracy. First of all, what say you about that? And then secondly, do you agree with Elizabeth and I that whatever one thinks of this process, it's a race to the bottom?
So with regards to gerrymandering, I think most people would agree, but I think we also have to make a distinction between like gerrymandering and racial gerrymandering, right?
Okay.
Because what is happening in these red states specifically is racial gerrymandering, right? So the Supreme Court has already said it's cool to politically gerrymander, and so right now we just take that for what it is. But what is happening specifically in states like Texas and Missouri, I think we're leaning into Kansas and things like that now, is like they are specifically targeting Black and brown communities and taking away their voting power, right? Not just stealing seats in the House, right? Because they could have did that any other way. They specifically cracked and packed these Black and brown neighborhoods in these different states to remove political power from those communities. That is separate from what is happening in California, where California said, okay, voters, this is what we up against. So do y'all want to fight back or not? If y'all are okay with it, that's just what it is. But we're going to put it on the ballot for California citizens to decide, are y'all cool what's happening in these other states? Because if we want to fight back, that's what we can do. As regards to the second question, right, is if this is a race to the bottom, it might be, but at this point in the game, we already down and bad. So we might as well fight back as much as we can. I think we should also take into consideration that even though we have red states that may have voted for Trump, or Trump won in those states, also remember that what happened down ballot, right, is that a lot of these people came out and only voted for Trump and didn't vote for nobody else, or they voted for Trump for the president and also voted blue down ballot. So we should keep that into consideration as well when we're thinking about what is about to happen in these midterms.
AB's point is well taken, that there's a distinct difference between gerrymandering, which is a problem, but racial gerrymandering is a double problem. And you recall a few days ago, we had Emmanuel Cleaver on this program. They did, in fact, redraw the lines in his district. And so I'm going to talk to him again in the coming days about what happens now. But they are literally in Florida, they did this. In Texas, they did this. In Missouri, they've done it. So AB is right, that they are racially gerrymandering African Americans and Latinos out of their seats, out of power. And that makes this conversation even more funky. So I just wanted to underscore that that's why we had Emmanuel Cleaver on, and we'll have him back on this program in the days ahead. One of the things that I find interesting, let me just do this first. Another piece of news or so that I want to get to. I'm working my way to Charlie Kirk, trust and believe, as much as I don't want to. I'm working my way to Charlie Kirk for a particular reason, so just hold on for that. But we saw the news yesterday, and it's all over the news today, that the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has now said they're going to target people on the left who engage in hate speech. Now, let me just say a couple things here before I let AB and Elizabeth sound off. We had a conversation on this program not long ago, you recall, about anti-Semitism. We've had a few of those conversations, and about, how might I put it, how liberal and how elastic the definition of anti-Semitism has become in this country. It's a real problem. If you don't believe me, ask the students on college campuses all across the country. You don't believe me, ask professors at campuses all across this country how much trouble they've gotten into because of the elasticity these days in how we define what anti-Semitism is. Put a pin in that. My concern is the same thing's about to happen now with hate speech, that the Attorney General says they're going to start targeting people on the left who are engaged in hate speech. Her comments yesterday, Pam Bondi, followed the comments of Vice President J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller when they sat in for the now deceased Charlie Kirk on his podcast. suggesting that they're going after the left. So speaking of race at the bottom, there's so many ways to sort of define that. But now we have members of government at the highest level. You can't get much higher than the attorney general. You can't get much higher than the vice president, who is suggesting that they are coming after the left. Elizabeth, I don't need to call it much more than that. How have you read the last 24 or 48 hours with those promises to come after us?
It has really solidified for me that both Pam Bondi and JD Vance need to be disbarred. Because any first-year law student who has sat through a constitutional law course will tell you that hate speech is protected speech. And simply using the phrase hate speech does not work. And I have a good example of this. I made a video some time ago that went quite viral where I talked about misgendering. And I said, misgendering somebody is one thing, but if you misgender them over and over and over again, and you're going there and harassing them, you're not protected by the First Amendment, because at that point it becomes a crime. And I got an influx of people on the right going, oh, hate speech is protected speech, don't you know? They know this. I've seen them make this argument in my comment section. And I made a very clear distinction where I said, I understand that hate speech is protected speech in the United States. It's not considered one of the, obscenity, which, Justice Potter said, I don't know it. I'll know it when I see it, anything like that, or incitement to violence, or fighting words, which fighting words has never really seemed to be used by the Supreme Court to really define what that is. All of those things would be exempt from First Amendment protection. However, hate speech is not. And this is something that the right has leaned heavily on for years in order to continue to say whatever hateful things that they want to say. And so I'm just having whiplash right now and finding it so interesting when I posted a video that made a very clear distinction between simply saying something hateful and saying something hateful to the point that it becomes harassment, right? And that's when the First Amendment no longer kicks in. So again, it's the rules for thee, but not for me situation. And I'm so intrigued to see how the judiciary would handle actually assessing any of these cases. Because even though we've seen the Attorney General in this administration push things like this, false statements such as we can go after you for hate speech, right? There are times when once it gets to the courtroom, these federal judges are not going for it, whether they are appointed by Trump or another right-wing president or Obama or Biden or whoever, because at the end of the day, these people love power, and the judiciary does not want to relinquish any of their own power to folks like Pam Bondi or JD Vance. And so I think we're going to see a really interesting tension between what the administration is trying to push and what the judiciary branch is pushing, because at the end of the day, these judges are thinking, I'm here forever. You guys are here for a few years. I don't think I want to, reroute case law in a way that's going to undermine my authority just to give you a little bit of power for a minute.
Elizabeth dropping bars. The rule is for thee, but not for me. I love it. As I think about it, AB, while Elizabeth is talking, the Trump administration already has some help in going after people who engage in what they term hate speech. So let me be clear about this. It's not just Donald Trump. We've been talking about it for the last couple of days. It's MSNBC when they fired Matthew Dowd. It's Washington Post when they fired the sister this week, a couple of days ago. So the so-called liberal media is already aiding and abetting. In many respects, the liberal media is already in front of Donald Trump. Imagine that. In this instance, Donald Trump is actually following the so-called liberal media when it comes to firing people for exercising their First Amendment right. So I can assure you, AB and Elizabeth, you will not be fired by me for expressing yourself on this program today. But that does not mean that the Trump administration, the Pam Bondi, JD Vance, and Stephen Miller, AB, ain't coming after you somewhere down the road.
I mean, that's the truth, but they shouldn't be bothering me. And if we're going to attack hate speech, then there's a lot of them on the right that's going to be in trouble, and they need to get their bail money ready because they incite more hate speech, actual hate speech, right? Because you got to remember, it's not protected when you incite violence, which we've seen, right? We had a congressperson, her husband, and her dog be unalived, right? As a result of political hate speech about how people feel about, people's political beliefs and things like that. We've seen how people have talked badly about Black women and called us certain names online. right? Where we've been harassed. Harassment is also not protected. I don't know about you, Liz, but I done got a few harassing messages and DMs where we have friends that are saying that they have been, attacked and told that violent things were going to happen to them. That's hate speech.
Yeah.
When you get called the N-word online, that's hate speech. So it's going to be a lot of them locked up if we really are targeting actual hate speech. But like Liz said, these federal courts aren't going for it. And that's why the Trump administration is mad now, because every time they pump fake and try one of these little schemes, trying to go after people and go after their political enemies and things like that, the federal courts come back and they like, yeah, no, we not with that. And then the Trump administration has to go back and tuck their tail again. And they continue to do it. But we don't hear that part in the media. So as you say that, organizations like MSNBC are aiding and abetting because they don't talk about as much as the losses that the Trump administration takes when they go to court.
Yeah.
Now, they may play games with the Supreme Court with their emergency orders, right, where we don't have to really get an explanation. But as you can see, the 3 liberal justices ain't having it. Every time they do one of them emergency orders and the court think they slick and side with the Trump administration without giving us an explanation, you see Justice Sotomayor and Justice Brown Jackson coming back with their dissent and letting us know exactly what happened and exactly why this is not okay, what they got going on. So they could keep playing them games if they want to, but I don't think it's going to survive in court. And also keep in mind that right after Pam Bundy got on the TV and pumped fake just like that, she quickly backtracked.
Yeah. Hold that thought 1 second, AB. I want to come. I promise I'm watching my clock here and come right back to you in a moment here. Speaking of Justice Sotomayor, she's already said after Bondi's hate speech that we are not going to criminalize free speech. That's Sotomayor, the Supreme Court justice, already on the record saying we do not want to criminalize free speech. A great deal more to cover. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing ahead with his re-election campaign despite trailing in the polls.
Let me do what I do. When my campaign changed, I would tell y'all when it's changed. But all of these false reports and rumors is undermining.
He dismissed media reports suggesting he might drop out to join the Trump administration, saying his team is just getting started. A Black school police officer in Westchester County, New York, has been fired after posting Instagram stories that mocked the assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Officials say Tanisha Blanche's remarks violated school safety standards. And a Black mom in Florida has made hospital history. 40-year-old Daniela Hines of Riverview gave birth to a nearly 14-pound baby boy at St. Joseph's Hospital South, making him the heaviest newborn ever delivered there. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
San Diego's events calendar is full of flavor. Dig into local wine and food festivals, treat the family to kid-inspired deals all October, and get a taste of glory at the Breeders' Cup World Championship. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers had a very frustrating night at Dodger Stadium last night. Shohei Ohtani had a no-hitter against Philadelphia through the first 5 innings, while the Dodgers built a 4-0 lead. Because Ohtani is on the pitch count after major surgery on his right shoulder, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts replaced Ohtani after the 5th inning. A 4-0 lead turned into a 9-6 loss for the Dodgers. 3 relievers gave up 9 runs after Ohtani's departure. Dodgers fans booed Roberts when he walked to the mound to make a pitching change in the 7th. They wanted to see Ohtani make a run at a no-hitter. The only bright spot for Dodgers fans was seeing Ohtani hit his 50th homer of the season. The Angels lost in Milwaukee last night 9-2. The loss eliminated the Angels from playoff contention in the American League and dropped their record to 69-82. The Angels have not made the playoffs since 2014. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and A.B. Burns Tucker and Elizabeth Booker Houston. I'll get back to A.B. in just a second, allow her to finish her point. But as is so often the case on this program, since I'm on for 3 hours, it's breaking news all the time. There are two stories I just reading during that break. They tie into what Liz and A.B. and I are talking about in this hour, at least at the moment, about Pam Bondi saying she's going after hate speech, the Attorney General, following those comments by J.D. Vance, Vice President, and Stephen Miller sitting in for Charlie Kirk on his podcast, saying they're going after the left. So we have become a target. It's one thing to have political opponents and to disagree on the issues, but now we're being targeted by the Trump administration. And that's a whole nother issue. But two things right quick you might find of interest. So for those in LA right now, when we went to break, you heard the news here in LA that we play every half hour. And there's a news report you probably just heard about a black school police officer in Westchester County, New York, who has been fired by the school district for her private post. So for her private post about Charlie Kirk, she's been fired in Westchester County. There's also news at the moment that the AG Pam Bondi is eyeing a case against an Office Depot employee who would not print a Charlie Kirk flyer. So that's the way in. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on radio, but I'm talking to two lawyers. And as we know, I've been at this a long time. They search and search like a heat-seeking missile to find the case that they want to litigate. The case that they want to work its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court for the kind of ruling that they can expect to get from a 6-3 conservative court. They target like a heat-seeking missile, trying to find the right case to open up the flood lanes, if you will. And so apparently this is one of the cases that Pam Bondi is looking at, a case once again where an Office Depot employee would not print a Charlie Kirk flyer. What's also fascinating about this conversation, I'm just in the first hour, but I believe today is Constitution Day. I believe it was do my math right quick here, 238 years ago today they signed, the signers signed the U.S. Constitution. I'm getting a thumbs up from my people, so I guess my math is right. 238 years ago today, in the midst of all this drama, today happens to be Constitution Day. So just process that on Constitution Day, this is what you're getting from J.D. Vance. This is what you're getting from Stephen Miller. This is what you're getting from the Attorney General on the day they signed the Constitution 238 years ago. I digress on that for now. AB, you were finishing up a point about Pam Bondi, sort of backtracking. Before you go, I'm getting a bunch of comments. You've been on a roll already, and the audience is waiting to hear you say, okay, so boom. Just want you to know that. I'm getting comments. But Tavis, she hasn't said, okay, so boom. So I just want you to know that. Anyway, go ahead with the rest of your commentary about Pam Bondi, Michael Jackson moonwalking, as it were.
Okay, so boom, because she did. She got up there on Sean Hannity. She got up on Sean Hannity, said what she said with her chest poked out. And then when she got responses from people like Mike Johnson and them saying, well, we don't know about that, she went on X and backtracked and was like, no, we just gonna target the people that cross the lines of violence. But I want to say this real quick and I'm gonna be done with it.
Right.
If y'all gonna honor y'all homeboy, honor y'all homeboy. But y'all homeboy said that hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. That's what he wrote on X. So I suggest that Pam Bondi go find something safer to do and do some real work and leave this one alone.
Yeah, that's what he said. So they are not even honoring. If they want to honor Charlie Kirk, honor his words. And I take AB's point. They're not even doing that. So AB just mentioned, and I'm glad she went there. She's taking me exactly where I want to go. She mentioned that Pam Bondi started backtracking and went on X and said what AB just quoted her as saying. It's the X thing I want to get to, because the last time I actually saw AB, as I recall, was last August. We were all on a plane out of LA headed to the DNC in Chicago. You recall I covered that convention live for a week from Chicago. AB was headed to Chicago as well, and we had a major flight delay. I mean, we were delayed like literally 8 hours getting out of LA. And so I was not going to stay at the airport, even in the first class lounge. I wasn't tolerating that for 8 hours. I told my assistant, we're leaving. We're going back to the building, which is not too far from the airport where I sit right now. And we're going to wait this thing out and go back to the airport at the appropriate time. AB was on that plane. I saw her. She saw me. We spoke to each other. And she came and hung out with us for those hours, and we ordered some food and just kind of, worked here for hours until we went back to the airport to finally successfully. Van Jones is on that plane. All of us were on the plane out of LA trying to get to Chicago, and all of us got delayed. So we came back here and hung out for a while. I raised that because I've been covering conventions for 30 plus years of my career. AB went to cover the Chicago convention. There were others who were covering conventions for the very first time, because the Democrats finally realized the power in advancing your narrative in social media. Everybody seems to get that now. That's why Mondami is the Democratic primary nominee in New York City. He understood that better than anybody else in that race, how to use social media. So there are examples of it every day. I'm fascinated by that, because when it comes to the story of Charlie Kirk, as I've said before, and that's why I wanted Liz and AB on, the stuff that we've been getting about Charlie Kirk, which really gives you a fuller picture of who he was, has not been coming from the mainstream media. I have gone on this program, as you recall, in days past, and just went in on the New York Times. They are doing a horrible job, a despicable job. And I think I saw last night, Charlie Kirk is now on the cover this week of the New York Times Magazine with this glowing sort of photo. I saw it last night pop in my feed. I think it's the New York Times Magazine cover. But the point is that the mainstream media, not only are they firing people for expressing themselves, but they're doing a horrible job of giving you the full picture of who Charlie Kirk was. Why do I raise that? Because I also told you that when Trayvon Martin was on trial, they acted like he was on trial during the Trayvon murder trial. George Zimmerman was on trial, but they acted like it was Trayvon. And they just went in on Trayvon and tried to paint this ugly picture of him. And they've done it with Michael Brown. They did it with George Floyd. My point is that when they kill Black people, the media does not stop trying to give you some complexity, some texture, some background, all the words they use about who this person really was. They are not going anywhere near that in the mainstream media when it comes to letting you see a 360 view of who Charlie Kirk was. So the truth that we've been getting about Charlie Kirk is coming from social media. Liz, take it from there. I think you take my point. Are you muted, Liz? I can't hear you. If you're talking to me,
I think
there you
was.
go. There you go.
Sorry. I have so many thoughts with this entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have really hit the nail on the head when you're talking about mainstream media not covering this properly, and not only not covering it properly, but also the way they are punishing people who are speaking out. I would be remiss if I did not right now on this show mention the fact that Karen, and I hope I pronounce her last name correctly, Ataya, she was the last Black opinions columnist reporter at the Washington Post. She was let go.
That's right.
The Washington Post for simply stating, quoting Charlie Kirk. She just quoted him, quoted what he said about Black women not having the brain processing capacity. You know, she quoted him. And I find it interesting that people would think that quoting this man is so disgusting that it's worthy of being terminated. But you're not putting two and two together to think, okay, but he said that. If these words are so offensive to you, think about where they came from. It's not this Black reporter who is simply quoting him. That's not the person who concocted this. It's Charlie Kirk. And we've also seen this now with the college student who has been expelled, and she was arrested because they said, I believe it was at Texas Tech, because they said that she, made inappropriate statements about Charlie Kirk and his death. And since we were just talking about the First Amendment, I would not be surprised if a good attorney finds her and files a lawsuit against her university for that, because it is a public university, and as a public university, they are bound by the First Amendment, right? So they can't violate the constitutional rights of their students. So it'll be interesting to see what avenues that she explores in order to get justice for that situation. But yeah, the entire discourse surrounding this from mainstream media has been extremely disappointing. One, not understanding internet culture, not understanding the issue when it comes to people talking about Nick Fuentes, not understanding Reddit and 4chan and these things, which they're so far behind on. And it's very important for mainstream media to catch up, because these are the avenues in which especially young white men are being radicalized into extremely far-right, dangerous territory. And at the same time, these mainstream media sources want to punish the reporters and the folks who are actually trying to speak out and say, this is something that isn't right. He did not stand for good things. He actually stood for extremely horrible things. We need to look into this further. And also look down their noses at content creators such as myself and AB, who are out here trying to fill the gaps that mainstream media is leaving for folks, and trying to explain what is going on and what's happening with all of this. And so, like I said, I just have a lot of thoughts about this. There's a lot of issues that come up when it comes to just talking about everything.
No, I'll let you expound a bit more when we come forward here. We're talking with Elizabeth Booker Houston and A.B. Burns Tucker, both attorneys, both commentators, and both social media influencers. Delighted to have them on right now. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
I referenced the New York Times a moment ago, and I had to scroll back through my feed to see what I was, what had popped in that I hadn't had a chance to look at. So there apparently is a story in today's New York Times, an op-ed piece. I guess they say I've not had a chance to read it yet, but the headline certainly gets one's attention. What Democrats can learn from Charlie Kirk. And that's what I saw pop in my feed. So it's available now to read. I'll read it once I get off the air today, but these headlines are just killing me. What Democrats can learn from Charlie Kirk. Okay, I'll leave that alone for now. And we'll get a chance to read it. Maybe something good in there. Who knows? When I get off the air today. AB, I'm looking at my clock. It's getting tired on me, but I certainly want to give you a chance to respond to the same question that I posed to Liz a moment ago. And that is the way, and this is just one example, the Charlie Kirk example. But there have been so many examples of the last couple of years that I could point to where you're getting fuller truth. And I let me be very clear. If you go back years into my career and hear me opine on social media, I've had criticisms and I've embraced it at times, because sometimes it just goes way too far. And I don't think I need to convince you, Liz, or the audience of that. But there are instances like the one now where the greater truth is actually coming from social media and not the corporate media. You say what about that, AB?
I say because we're not controlled, right, by the corporations. We have it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because we have the luxury to do the research on our own. We know our audiences personally is a difference, right? So I know what information my audience may need. Same with Liz. She knows how to address her audience in a specific way because we have those relationships with them. But then we're also not controlled by corporations that get to say whether or not we get to come to work tomorrow, right? I can say what I need to say and bring forth the information I need to bring forth on my platform. And I don't got to worry. The only thing I got to worry about is whether or not they're going to take my page, right? But I'm not doing anything outside the bounds of the rules of being on social media. So I think that's the one thing. And then also I just want to just opine about the fact that, the journalists have an ethical obligation to the audience, right? And journalism is one of the pillars of our democracy. We have to have truth and we have to have that information. And that is why we have the freedom of speech, because we need that information. And I think what happened is because of how the mainstream media is portraying the situation around it's out of pocket. And I say that because a lot of people didn't even know who he really was for real. And the type of things he said. Right? They had this utopian view of him as just somebody that brought two sides together. And that's all they knew, that he had debates with both sides. But none of them ever really knew the things that came out of his mouth, the things that, were tweeted online, until we on social media started being open and honest and reposting his tweets and showing videos, right, for the public to see.
Yeah. Nope, you're right about that. And that's what I've been doing every day. And I know you and Liz and others have been doing the same thing, just trying to give the audience a fuller picture of why we're in this mess, and the flags flying at half-staff and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I heard yesterday they want to put a statue of him inside the Capitol building. I mean, this is just it's a bit much. And if you're deserving of that, I ain't mad at you. But when we start honoring this kind of hate speech, and then we start vowing vengeance against those who speak ill as they see it, what they call speaking ill, I call telling the truth about Charlie Kirk. They have vowed vengeance. That's a real problem. We'll close on this note of vengeance as a strategy by the Trump administration. We'll get to Liz and AB's thoughts about that in our remaining moments with them on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Liz Elizabeth Booker Houston and A.B. Barnes Tucker. And appreciate both of them on the program today in the first hour to kick us off. I got 3 minutes left. I'll split it between Liz and A.B. So here's my read of the moment. They are trying to canonize Charlie. They're trying to canonize Charlie Kirk, and they have vowed vengeance against any of us who do not subscribe to their playbook. The question, Liz, in the work that you do, how do you navigate this tricky terrain?
Me personally, I don't care what they do, because white supremacists are always going to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they have going on, if it wasn't Charlie Kirk, it was going to be somebody else. And that's really the fact of the matter. So honestly, the best way that I navigate it in my work is I speak out about what white nationalism and white supremacy does. And I really try to hit home for folks that it doesn't just affect Black people or people of color, but white people as well, the vast majority of white people in America. And I will tell you, I have been able to see so much growth in my platform, as well as so many people who are receptive to that. When I say people, I mean white people who are receptive to that.
Yep.
So that is how I navigate it.
AB, how you going to navigate this tricky terrain?
Not at all. I don't need to be centering him in nothing that I do. Let's talk about the issues for real and what's going on in the world. So I won't be centering him. You ain't got to worry about me talking about him. And the one time I did, it was to talk about the Black students on HBCU campuses that were forced to leave campus and try to find a safe place to go because there were threats on campuses after what happened to him. That's what I want to center. I don't want to center him in this situation.
No, we talked to Dr. Daniel Black out of Clark Atlanta the other day on our program, and if you people are still talking about that conversation, if you missed our conversation with Dr. Black, they were on the campus of Clark Atlanta when the lockdown happened, and they were locked inside of a room in his classroom for 4 hours. I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "I kept on teaching. I just kept on teaching. I figure if Black students are locked into a room with a professor, that's what we do. We're not going to sit here and be afraid and fear and trepidation." So I kept on teaching. But that conversation was just amazing. So check out the podcast of the Daniel Black conversation. He was followed by Cornell West. It was a fire day on Monday on this program. All of it is now podcast. So check it out if you missed it live. I close with this. I have a really bright audience, as I always say, and for that I'm grateful. Here's a question, and I'm just going to leave it hanging, and you can think about it for the rest of the day. Did Charlie Kirk bring together both sides, or did he create a false dialogue in order to bring a boomer-funded far-right message to college campuses, which otherwise would have been rejected? Just think about that. Elizabeth Booker Houston and A.B. Burns Tucker, honored to have had you on. Liz, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
And A.B. Burns Tucker. Okay, so boom.
Okay, so boom. Thank you for having me.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing ahead with his re-election campaign despite trailing in the polls.
Let me do what I do. When my campaign changed, I would tell y'all when it's changed. But all of these false reports and rumors is undermining.
He dismissed media reports suggesting he might drop out to join the Trump administration, saying his team is just getting started. A Black school police officer in Westchester County, New York, has been fired after posting Instagram stories that mocked the assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Officials say Tanisha Blanche's remarks violated school safety standards. And a Black mom in Florida has made hospital history. 40-year-old Daniela Hines of Riverview gave birth to a nearly 14-pound baby boy at St. Joseph's Hospital South, making him the heaviest newborn ever delivered there. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
San Diego's events calendar is full of flavor. Dig into local wine and food festivals, treat the family to kid-inspired deals all October, and get a taste of glory at the Breeders' Cup World Championship. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.
This is the KBLA Sports